do that, the combined like terms distributive property. The only problem is that I have two of them and I don't know which one I gave you. So I just give myself double the work. So I'll probably end up doing both. And you guys just fast forward to whichever one is the correct version, okay? So, again, I hope it's this first one. If not, I'll do both. Like I said, I'll do both. All right, so let me see if I can make this a little bigger because my eyesight is not as good as it used to be. And we'll start right away. So again, this, I am going to rewrite this problem where the like terms are next to each other. Okay. And then here, I don't know why I did plus minus negative 9d. So I'm actually going to take that out. Okay, so the problem should be actually like that. So now I can very easily combine these two, right up to here, and then combine these two. So negative 4 minus c is the same thing as negative 4 minus 1c. And if you want to put the 1 in there, just as a reminder that there is a coefficient of 1, because it becomes negative 4 minus 1, and you can change that to an addition problem. Eventually you get negative 5c and minus negative 12d. Okay, because it's negative 3d minus 9d, right? And again, take your time, all right? And then you can always change this problem to an addition problem. It becomes plus negative 1c, right? And obviously you get negative 5c, right? And negative 3d minus 9d becomes negative 3d plus negative 9d, and that's how I got the negative 12d, but you already knew that. Okay, so the only step that I'm going to take extra here is that I'm going to combine, put the like terms next to each other, okay? Minus 5n minus n plus 3p. Please notice that when you move, okay, so if you want to circle them, you always circle the term and the sign preceding it. So when I circle the 2m here, I circle the 2m with that minus sign. Okay, so and again, let me, for this problem, put them in rocks. So imagine if these were rocks and were to move them around, right? I would take the negative 2m and move this all the way next to the negative 7m, and that's what I'm having here, and that's what I'm going to combine these two, and then the 3 doesn't combine with anyone because there's only one term. So this becomes negative 9m minus negative 6n plus 3p. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put them together, like I said, and then it's minus 9x squared plus 5x minus x minus 7 plus 19. All my like terms are next to each other. So negative 4 negative 9 is negative 13, x squared. 5x minus x is positive 4x. Right? And minus 7 plus 19 is plus 11, plus 12. And that's my final answer. Okay, so here, as far as order goes, okay, we usually do it in terms of exponents. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to put this guy first. Right, so we want to write it up. I like to write it in order. 2ab cubed, right, minus 2a plus 2a 12ab cubed, which is this guy. So let me circle it. And then I'm going to put the minus 2a squared, right? And then plus 5a squared. And the last one I write is plus a because that has the smallest exponent. Now it just becomes a matter of combining. That's the easy part. So that's 10ab cubed, right? The variables stay the same, and I just add or subtract the coefficients. Minus 2a and positive 5a is plus 3a squared, and then plus a. Scroll down a little bit. All right, so now you have a little bit of distributive property. I mean, again, something that you did in the 6th grade. But with a little bit more of careful that you have to be So negative 3/8. So in order to combine like terms, I can't combine it in this state. The parenthesis here is protecting the 5a. I need to remove the 5a from the parentheses in order to be able to combine with the minus 3a. Okay, in order to do that, I have to remove the parentheses, but we just can't throw it away. So remember what I said earlier. So as you can see, outside the parentheses, there is no nothing multiplying, right? So you can imagine, if it's easier for you, there's a 1 over here. So we're going to get minus 3/8, and then we're going to multiply minus 1 times 5/8 and minus 1 times minus 7. And we're going to take that sign preceding the number to identify if it's positive or negative. So negative 1 and 5/8 is negative, right? That's just going to be negative 5/8. Negative 1 times negative 7 is positive 7, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. Now, lucky for me, these two are nicely next to each other, the like terms. Negative 3a and negative 5a is negative 8a plus 7. Here, again, I have to remove the parentheses. And again, in this case, I mean, imagine you're going to imagine a positive 1, right? So when it's a positive 1 that's outside the parentheses, when you remove the parentheses, all the terms inside the parentheses come out the same. So let me show you why. 1 times negative 9y is just negative 9y. 1 times, and think of it as negative 5 is just negative 5. So you notice the terms inside the parentheses remain the same. And then the plus y is just plus y. Remember, the 1 is not being multiplied to the y because the y is not inside the parentheses. Let me just move things around. I'm going to move the y plus y next to negative 9y minus 5. Combine like terms, combine these, right? And let me put a 1 here so that you don't forget there's a 1 as a coefficient. Negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8. The coefficient stays. That's my final answer. Okay, so next one, again, I'm going to put a 1 over here. I'm going to put a 1 over here until and you don't have to, but it just helps you remember that there is a negative 1 there that's being multiplied. So that's, imagine that negative 1 multiplied by this, and then multiplied by that. And in this case, it's going to be a positive 1 multiplied by this and multiplied by that. Okay, basically, what that does, if there's a negative sign outside the parentheses, the terms inside will change signs. Notice that negative times a negative, right? So it becomes 2b3. And a negative times a positive 9, again, becomes negative 9a. So notice that it was a negative 2b3, now it's a positive 2b3. Negative, that was plus 9a, it's now negative 9a, minus 9a. And then over here, it's a 1. So when we multiply by a positive 1, positive times a negative is a negative, and 1 times 3b3 is 3b3. Positive times a positive is just a positive. So that a stays the same. So notice these two and these two inside the parentheses are exactly the same. Let's shuffle them around. Okay, so I'm going to put my like terms next to each other. So minus 2b3 minus 3b to the third power is just negative 1b3. I did not need to write that 1, but I just wrote it. And then negative 9a plus a is just negative 8a. My final answer. Actually, better answer would have been negative b cubed minus 8a without the 1 there. It's kind of silly to write the 1 when there's only 1 b cubed. So again, because there is no number, we imagine a 1 outside the parentheses and outside the parentheses. And slowly, if you imagine a 1, negative times a positive is a negative, and 1 times 4c is 4c. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 1 times 2m is 2m. The second part, again, let me put a 1 here. So negative times a negative is a positive, and 1 times 5k is 5k, and again, negative times this negative in the back is going to be positive, and 1 times 8m is 8m. Move things around. Okay, so again, this question I'm going to circle 4c. Actually, there's nobody with the 4c, so that stays the same. Let me put the 2m's together, so the plus 2m and plus 8m will be side by side, and the plus 5k will be at the back there. So negative 4c plus 10m plus 5k. just a matter of practice, guys. I mean, we're still at the end of the day multiplying and adding. So that's all we're doing today, multiplying. Just multiplying with just special attention to, whether a number will be negative or positive at the end. But it boils down to multiplying and dividing, multiplying and adding today, and subtracting. So, okay, quickly, first thing, remove the parentheses, so it's negative 12t. That stays, right, because there's nothing happening. We should put a 1 in here. Negative, so negative times a negative is a positive, plus 3c. Negative 1 and then negative 5d, it's going to be positive 5d, plus 2c. Negative 12d, let's move the 5d next to it, plus 5d. Let's move the plus 3c to the back, next to the plus 2c. Combine these two, you get negative 7d. Combine these two, you get plus 5c. Final answer. Now here we have multiplying. Remember, when we're multiplying and you have a times a, that's literally a squared, right? So remember, this is repeated multiplication. So exponents is a means of expressing this, right? Repeated multiplication in a shorter way. So we're going to multiply this times this, and this times that. So let's see what we get. A times negative a. First of all, it's a positive times a negative. We get negative. And a times a is just a to the second power, right? Remember what we talked about? There's an exponent of 1 when you don't see an exponent. So we keep the base, add the exponents. Next, a times negative b. Well, it's going to be negative, first of all. And a times b is just ab. Next is negative a times negative a. That's going to give us positive, and a times a is a squared. Negative a times b, negative b is going to be positive, and positive ab. And the last one here, negative a times positive a is a negative a, second power. And negative a times positive b is going to be negative ab. Okay, so quickly I can tell you that we have, notice that we have a negative ab and a positive ab, so this and this becomes 0. Positive a squared and minus a squared also is 0, right, because I have one of the same and they're opposites. And the only thing I have left over is a squared minus ab. Pretty simple. And for the love of God, I hope I'm doing the right sheet. Well, it just means I have to spend a little more time doing this. All right, so we have, what do we have here? Why is this so? All right, so there are more than parentheses here. It's okay. Let's see. So I have to do. Okay, so 7m plus minus 2m. So the first thing I have to remove is these parentheses. These are the first two I have to go. Right. So again, in order to remove that, I'm going to pretend there's a 1 here, and I'm multiplying negative 1 times negative 5w. It's going to give me plus 5w. And negative 1 times the negative 2 here is going to be plus 2 bracket. I think they're called brackets. No? I forgot the name of these. Doesn't matter. Now, I have to remove these. Let me put it there. I have to remove these, right? Let's just call them brackets for now. Okay, and in order to remove them, again, likewise, I'm going to pretend there's a 1 in here. This times a positive 1, and that's going to be multiplying times every 1. So positive 1 times negative 2m is going to be, it's going to be negative 2m. Positive 1 times positive 5w is just positive 5w, and positive 1 times positive 2 is just 2. Can I simplify? Sorry, can I combine any like terms? Right, these two I can combine. 7m minus 2m is just 5m plus 5w plus 2. Okay, so, wish I had my phone with me. Hang on a second, so I can get you the names correctly. So just give me a second. Types. It has to be. So parentheses, brackets, and braces. Really? They're called braces? All right. So it doesn't matter. So let me just give you an example here. Again, 5 plus 3 and times 7, that would be 7 times 5, 7 times 3, applying the distributive property, whether it's parentheses or brackets. Let's say there were a number in there, 6 plus a, and there was a 4 here, you would still do, well, what do you call distributive property, right? 4 times 6 is 24, and 4 times a would be 4a, or the braces, right? If there was a number outside and there was a plus b inside, to get rid of the braces, you would go 3 times a, which is 3a, plus 3 times 3, which is 3b. So they all work in the same manner, okay? So it's just a matter of order. So, okay, with this question here, so the first thing we have to get rid of is these parentheses right here, right? And we get rid of those parentheses by, first of all, pretending there's a 1 here, and that 1 is negative. So let's copy everything else that I'm not touching right now. Put the braces there, minus 5y, put the brackets, 2y squared, and then the only thing that's going to move, so it's negative 1 times negative 4y is positive 4y. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3, right? So that is applied. That minus 7 is not in the, what do you call, in the parentheses, so we just copy it. Okay, so I remove the parentheses. Now I have to get rid of these guys right here. And to remove this guy, I'm going to pretend there's a 1 here. So again, negative 3y squared minus braces minus 5y, that stays, that does nothing right now. And let's do the distributive property, right? 1 times 2y is positive 2y times this. 1 times 4y is 4y. 1 times 3 is just 3, and 1 times negative 7 is just 7. And then remove the brackets, and we're left with only the braces. Okay, so again, now we have to remove the braces in order for me to be able to combine this 3y squared that's outside with, for example, the 2y squared that's inside. So let me pretend there's 1. That's going to distribute property. It's everybody. So I'm going to have 3y squared. That's a negative. So again, I want you to start understanding that the 1 is, so that you understand that you're multiplying, right? That negative 1 times everybody inside the parentheses. But eventually you don't have to, put the 1. It's just automatically you'll find, okay, there's a minus sign in there. So if there's a minus sign outside the grouping symbol, it means that every term inside the parentheses will come out the opposite. So it was minus 5y, it's going to be positive 5y. It was plus 2y squared, it's going to be minus 2y squared. It was plus y, minus 3y, plus 3, minus 3, and minus 7, plus 7. So you already know what's going to happen. If that was a plus, then everybody who was inside comes out exactly the same. All right, so now to combine like terms, the only like term, well, there's like terms. Okay, so these two are like terms. Okay, so again, just remember circling the term and the sign that comes right before it. So we have negative 3y squared minus 2y squared plus 5y minus 3y minus 3 plus 7. So now just a matter of really combining like terms. Combine these two, it's negative 5y squared. Combine these two, it gives positive 2y, and minus 3 plus 7 is plus 4. Okay, a lot more than we did in class today, but you should be okay. All right, so All right, so again, so compared to that, look how easy this problem is. Negative 6h plus 8 minus h, negative 6h minus h plus h, and we get negative 7h plus 8. Okay. Again, distributive property, right? So 6 times 5 is 30, 30y. Positive times a negative is a negative. 6y times 2x is 12xy. Okay, and it makes a difference. At standard notation, we always write it alphabetically, so don't write yx, write xy. And then we gotta multiply these two, right? Minus x minus y times x is minus xy. And negative y times negative 4 is going to be positive 4y. Are there any like terms? Yeah, these two and these two. So 30y plus 4y, and then minus 12xy minus xy. This is easy. 34y. Be careful. That's minus 12xy minus xy. It gives us minus 13xy. Don't forget we have a 1 in there. Okay. Okay. So you just really need to pay attention to details. But other than that, there's nothing difficult here. So let's multiply, right? Distributive property. So we get 2 times 3 is 6. Y squared times y is y cubed. Positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 5 is 10. Y squared and y cubed is y to the 5th power. Next is a negative times a positive, which is a negative. 3 times 5 is 15. And the y times y cubed, y squared is y cubed. And negative times a positive is a negative. We get 3. Right, there's a 1 in here, so 3 times 1 is 3, and then y times y is y to the 2nd power. And the last term, we just write it down because that's not doing anything with anyone. So in order of descending order, negative 10y to the 5th power minus 2y 5th, right? So these, well, again, it's nice to circle them, or at least to cross them out. So these two are gone, and then it's going to be plus 6y cubed minus 15y cubed minus 3y squared. Now it's just a matter of combining like terms. So again, this, okay, if you can see it right away, that's negative 12. If you don't, take it to the side and then change this to an addition problem like we talked about, right? So now you can understand why it becomes negative 12y to the 5th power. The middle ones, is that plus 6y cubed minus 6y cubed? What is this? Oh, 15. Okay, sorry. Okay, so 6y cubed minus 15. So again, you can bring it to the side, take this little part right here, take it to the side, change it to an addition problem. Okay, which eventually is going to get you minus 9y cubed minus 3y squared. That's your final answer simplified. Next, it's a positive times a negative, and 2 times 1 is 2, and c times c is c squared. 2c times 4w is going to be positive 8cw. Next is these two. Negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 5 is 15. And then the letter is going to be A, B, C. The last one is a negative times a negative, which is a positive, and 3 times the invisible coefficient of 1 is 3. And the rest is just B, C, W. Any like terms here? Nope. Nope. Everybody has a variable, different variables, so I can't combine anything. So that's it for this problem. So, right. I push this down a little bit. So here, again, a lot of letters, and that can be a little bit dangerous because you have to be really careful. So negative times a positive. Let's do this. We're doing this. and we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing that, right? We're applying the distributive property. So negative 12, 3 times 4 is negative 12, negative 3, right? And then there's no a, so I just write it. So there's b's here and a b here. B squared times b squared, b to the fourth. C squared times a c, c to the third. Remember, we keep the base when we add the exponents. Negative times a negative is a positive. Coefficient 3 times 2 is 6. A times a to the cubed, a cubed is a fourth. There is no b. It's only a b squared when there are no b's. And there's a c squared times the plane c, and that's c cubed. Excuse me. The third term is going to be a negative times a negative, so it's going to be positive. So it's 3 times the invisible coefficient here. It's going to give me a 3. A times a is going to be a squared. B squared times this b is b cubed. And that's c squared here. There's no c, so you still write it out. The last term, it's a negative times a negative, which gives me a positive. 3 times 1 is 3. A times a is going to be a squared. B squared times b is going to be b cubed. And c squared times c is going to be c cubed. Oh my god. All right, so is there any term that has the same variables to the same exact powers? No, this is no, because this is a c squared, this is a c cubed, so definitely different. So they all look like they're different. Okay. This one, negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 1 is 3, and b times b is b squared. Negative times a negative is a positive again. 3 times 4 is 12, and the b times b3 is b4. Nothing to combine. Final answer. 5a does absolutely nothing. Weights here. So negative 4 times negative a is positive 4a. Negative 4 times negative 7a is going to be positive 28a. Combine like terms? Actually, yeah, all three are the same terms. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 28 is 37a. Bunch of k's here. So positive times a negative is negative, and we get 3k squared. Positive times a negative is a negative again, and k times k is k squared. Minus 4k squared minus 10k. Lucky for us, it's written in order. Minus 3, so we can combine these three terms here. Right, so that's, there's a 1 here, don't forget. So it's going to be negative 3 minus 1 minus 4. That's going to give us negative 8 k squared minus 10k. Alright, so not too many left over. Alright, it's not that bad. Let's see. So here we have 7 times 2, which is 14. 7 times 14, and then W5. 7 times minus 2 is going to be negative 14, minus 14, W5. Okay, so you know that this and this, they're opposites. So 14W5 minus 14W5 is just going to be 0. So the final answer is negative 14. Positive times a negative is a negative. 3cm in order, please. And this one, positive times a negative is a negative again. 3 times 3 is 9, and m times m5 is m6. Positive and positive is positive, so 3 times 6 is 18, and m times w is just mw. And then minus the 30mw in the back. Okay, so do I have any common terms here? Or like terms, sorry. Yeah, these two are the same type. So this just gets copied. This just gets copied. I should have written the 6 first. And then 18 mw minus 30 mw is just negative 12 mw. Okay. Okay, so the last question. Express the area of the, let me just give myself some room. So I need some room. Here we go. So express the area of the outer rectangle a picture on the right. So the outer rectangle is the big rectangle, right? And how do we find the area of a rectangle? We multiply the width times the length, right? So we're going to be multiplying. So the area of the outer rectangle, outer, and the area is going to be 6b, right? Times 4b plus 2, right? Because the length is expressed by 4b plus 2. You can't write 6b times 4b plus 2, right? Because if you wrote that, 6b is only multiplying 4b, it's not multiplying the 2 on the outside, right? So you want 6b to multiply this and that, so that's why we write it in parentheses. So the white rectangle, the big rectangle, right? The big rectangle is going to be 6 times 6, 6 times 4 is 24, and b times b is b squared. Then 6b times 2 is just 12b. So that's the area expressed, right, of the outer rectangle. The inner rectangle, right, the smaller one, it's going to be, the area is going to be 3b, right, the width times the length over here. I'll put that in parentheses as well. And that's going to give us 6b minus, this is 6b, and then 3b minus 1 is going to be minus 3b. And then, okay, we did this, we did that. Express in simple form the area of the non-shaded region. Okay, so the non-shaded region is this part, right? So imagine you had a piece of paper and you punched a hole in the middle, the yellow part. So what you have left over is this, the non-shaded region, right? So the region of the whole paper, the whole piece of paper, the whole white paper is expressed by this. We punched the hole, which is expressed by this. So there's some left over, and the leftover paper, right, is this. So how much left over is this? This one's a little bit difficult, because the one thing that you have to realize here, and we'll talk about it when we come back to class on Monday, is that we're subtracting this value, right? And you have to put it in parentheses, because this whole thing represents the whole rectangle, right? And then from that whole thing, we're subtracting this value here. And if you write it like this, when you subtract, right? So if you write it like this, you're really only subtracting the CP. You're not 6p. You're not subtracting this whole expression here. So you must write it in parentheses. Now that says the area of the big sheet of paper, the white sheet of paper, minus the area of this, which is expressed by that. That's why we put it in parentheses. Now, oh no, no. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna, actually I can't. So now, let's continue this. And we have to remove the parentheses, right? If we remove the parentheses, we got 24b squared. And I know you're going to say, why do we put the parentheses in the first place if we're going to remove it and nothing's going to change? But just for you to understand, I put the parentheses there because I want to show you that these two terms express the area of the bigger rectangle. Okay, so again, if you remove the parentheses, there's a 1 here, right? A positive 1. So if it's positive, remember what we said, everything comes out exactly the way they are inside. But this minus here is going to affect all the terms inside, and instead of 6b, which is positive inside this parenthesis, it's going to come out negative. And the minus 3b is going to come out positive. Right? Remember, there's a 1 here. Positive times a negative is a negative 6b, and then negative times a negative becomes positive 3b. So I know I'm running out of room. Can I combine any terms? I can. The 24b squared can't, but 12b minus 6b plus 3b can be combined. So that's going to give me 12b minus 6b, 6b. 6b plus 3b is plus 9. So the area that's left over is expressed by that particular expression. Okay? And hopefully that was the handout that I gave you. If not, I'll put up the other video anyway for you guys. Okay, we'll do it a little bit later. Okay, so actually, you can, if you let me know, first one to let me know via Google Stream, I'll add 2 points to your next quiz. If this was the incorrect video for the handout that I gave you today. All right.